everybody and welcome back to Movie Squirm. Today I'm going to be doing another Final Destination review, and this is the fourth entry into this franchise, The Final Destination from 2009, and this is directed by David R. Ellis and stars Bobby Campo and Chantel Van Santen. When a young man has a premonition that the racetrack he is visiting has a big crash and kills him and a bunch of his friends, they decide to leave only for death to hunt them down one by one. And just a heads up guys, if you want more Final Destination reviews, they'll be in the link down below in my Final Destination review playlist. And just a heads up as well, there will be spoilers in this review. Familiar story, isn't it? I feel like I've said that plot 4 times now, just with a different opening. But I'm going to be honest with you guys, I've never actually seen this movie until now, or Part 5. I've only ever seen the first 3 Final Destination films. I don't know why, I just haven't got round to them, and I'd heard a lot of people say that this was the worst one in the franchise and also one of the worst movies of all time. So I thought, how can you do that? The Final Destination franchise is just fun. So how can they make one of the worst movies of all time out of it? So I went in with quite low expectations. So what did I think? And yes, this movie does have a ton of problems, I'm not going to lie. One of them being the title, The Final Destination. I have no idea why it's called that, but we're just going with it, aren't we? However, I think there's quite a lot to like here as well, mainly involving, yes, you guessed it, the death scenes. The opening scene, whilst probably being the weakest, is still pretty fun to watch, I think. You know, it's seeing these car parts and actual cars fly into the crowd here, with the stand catching fire to the stand actually collapsing and killing a bunch of people. I mean, it brings the carnage and just sets up the movie nicely. There's some very cool death scenes in here. I really like the pebble that flies through that woman's eyeball there. It takes it out like a gun from a bullet. She goes to the hair salon and so many things are going wrong in there, like the spinning lamp above her sort of falls and just misses her, and it looks like it's got like blades on it and stuff that could easily chop her into bits. There's a moment where her chair falls down and the hairdresser has got a knife right next to her neck there. And you're just like, okay, where's it going to go wrong in this salon? And it's not until she walks out that this lawnmower drives over a pebble and sort of shoots it into her eyeball. And some people may say that she actually deserved this because she walked into the salon very late and made the salon worker work after hours. But she is actually credited as MILF, believe it or not. Yeah, she hasn't got a name in this movie. You look at the credits at the end, she is credited as MILF.
I've got my eye on you two.
Another standout scene here was the escalator death, which happens at the premonition towards the end of the film. And seeing Laurie dragged through all that machinery there, oh my god, I would hate to have a death where your bones and everything is mangled and crushed. And yeah, this one was really one that made you wince, I suppose. I always remember my nan saying that she was afraid of escalators. And this one made me realise why, although I don't think my nan ever watched The Final Destination, in all honesty. But this movie does actually bookend the film with another premonition, and I kind of like that. The third movie did this as well, and the problem with the first movie, I think the ending falls flat because it's basically just Alex, not the ending but the third act, trying to save Clear Rivers from an electric cable. It's kind of like, how do you fight death in the third act? So instead of that, they do another premonition scene because these movies open so well, but now they're bookending it with another one. And having all these characters in the cinema, sort of having the screen explode, was really fun to watch, and seeing them all run out of this collapsing shopping mall. You know, that was another fun scene for me. And if you are just here for the kills, I don't think you're going to be too disappointed because basically every other scene in this film is a kill scene. Now, I usually like a little bit more story and meat on the bones when it comes to movies, especially when you're in the 4th or 5th one of the franchise, but I can't deny that I was still having fun. It's a formula that is just works for Final Destination, doesn't it? I've said this in all the reviews, and at only 82 minutes long, even less with the credits, that's basically all this movie does. There isn't much time to flush a story out or whatever. But I suppose if you're not liking this movie and you're one of them people who hate it, you're not going to have to stick around for too long anyway. Now, this might have been a totally different experience on the big screen, But this is actually Final Destination in 3D, and the whole 3D effect can really be an eyesore at times when just watching it in the 2D format. First of all, I think the whole premonition scene at the start was based around the 3D because a lot of objects and car engines and stuff are flung at the crowd in the stands, and it looks like it's coming towards the screen and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of like they said, we'll do Final Destination in 3D and we'll think about the premonition scene later on to match that 3D effect. So you can kind of tell that's why the story is kind of lacking here. They just wanted to get a Final Destination movie out in 3D and think afterwards. And there's a lot of characters in this opening scene impaled on spikes, but you kind of see their body fall backwards and the spike come through them into the screen. It's kind of like Friday the 13th Part 3. We can just tell where the 3D effects are from a mile away. Also, the ending, the premonition at the end is all done in a big cinema screen. Yeah, you think about it, people are watching this on 3D in the cinema, so it looks like it's all coming through the cinema screen there, the explosion and stuff, which is fine for the time, but it doesn't last now, does it? Because I doubt this is ever going to be on the cinema again. A lot of it is done with bad CGI as well. There's a moment in that opening scene where two people are cut in half, and it just looks so bad CGI that you're like, oh, kind of takes me out of it a little bit there. But one scene, this guy is impaled on a fence by this fire, like this gas bottle. It flies at him and sticks him to the fence, and you can just see all his body parts kind of peeling off, kind of like the first Resident Evil movie where the lasers go through them characters, and they're just falling off in chunks of meat there. But it's all done with the 3D effect in mind, and you can't help notice it. However, they're still fun to watch, but they kind of just look a little bit too fake. Also, our main character Nick will see these premonitions happen before they do, kind of like all the other movies, but it's done in such a bad looking way. Basically, he will just see it in his mind. We will cut to a black screen and little 3D objects will fly into each other, sort of, like computerized graphics. And it was so bad to look at. And it happens like 5 times throughout the movie. It just felt kind of lazy and just said, yeah, we'll do this because people won't notice. We're watching it in 3D anyway, and they won't care. But yeah, that was one of the worst parts of the movie for me, these premonition scenes. Not to mention some shitty looking screen as well. For example, the opening, a lot of characters are running out of the track and through these sort of steps and the little tunnel where you go into the racetrack, you can just see flames there. They look so fake, the flames. You can tell characters are just running out of a green screen there. So yeah, it's not the best looking movie, put it that way, and it is all hindered because of the 3D effect. There's also some really random, weird decisions thrown in here. Like at the racetrack at the start, these kids, it's a little bit too loud for them. So that MILF woman who got killed in the salon puts tampons in their ears to block out the sound. Like, really? Put tampons in your kids' ears? That's just nasty. Come on. Also, there's like some really random racist shit thrown in there at times. And one of the characters at the end of the movie is credited as racist guy. So yeah, we got MILF, racist guy, and believe it or not, racist guy's wife. They're what these characters are credited as. There's some weird music choices as well. Like this racist guy who I told you about just then is getting pulled along by this truck and set on fire. And the song, Why Can't We Be Friends, is blazing on the radio, and it just doesn't go with the scene at all. And there's some really, like, very loud, heavy rock music thrown in at the opening credit scene. Yeah, just weird music choices, put it that way. And our characters here are kind of a bland bunch, but there's this one guy, the blonde-haired guy, who is just one of the worst characters in the franchise so far. In fact, he might be the worst. He was just such an arsehole. He wouldn't listen to anyone about them being next in the, next in line for death's plan or anything. He wouldn't believe it. He didn't want to listen to anyone, even though it was happening all around him. He didn't care that people were dying. He kind of found it funny at times. And as fun as the death scenes kind of are in this movie, his is probably the worst one I've seen so far in all 4 movies. He jumps in a swimming pool and the suction is kind of turned on by mistake, and it kind of pulls him to the bottom of the swimming pool. And why that suction pipe is allowed to just be left in the open there, I don't know. Health and safety would have been all over that. But he has suctioned it that hard that he has pulled through his arsehole down the pipe and just put into blood and mush, really. And he's got this lucky coin throughout the film. And he always says that this is stopping him from dying, basically, because he's got this lucky coin. He's always kissing it. And when you see his blood and guts on the floor, the lucky coin just lands there. So the movie's got a real comedic tone to it, really. Yeah, it kind of goes for way too much of the comedy and the fun factor here. Whereas you look back to the first film, it's very, very serious there. And that one just works so much better than the tone they're going for here. And our main protagonist, Nick, is probably the most boring character in this series so far. But the bunch of characters we have here are just nothing. I mean, they're cardboard cutout characters. They are just there. None of them bring any personality whatsoever. They are so bland to be around. I can't even hardly remember the names of any of them. They are just so forgettable. Chantel Van Sant was about the best character here with Laurie, but she was the best of a bad punch. But McKelty Williamson, as the side character George, was a standout, I suppose. But I just really liked him as an actor. He's been in movies like Heat, and I don't know what the hell he's doing here, but yeah, I mean, he was my favourite character in the movie. And maybe I'm just being biased there because I liked him as an actor, but he's the one who felt like he had the most acting chops here. However, my biggest negative with this film is something that Final Destination 2 does, and I absolutely fucking hate what this rule is. So George, who's played by McKelty Williamson, learns that he's next in line, and he says, look, I'm ready, because he killed his family in a drink driving accident, and he's been blaming himself ever since, and he just wants to be with his family, so he's fine that he's next in line. However, he is not next in line, it's someone else, and when he finds this out, he tries to kill himself. And when you think back to Final Destination 2, that guy who is not next in line shoots himself 6 times, but all the bullets are duds, so he is not able to kill himself because it's not his turn. This happens again here. I hated that in the second one, and I hate it here. So George basically takes a bunch of sleeping pills, but throws them back up. Then he tries to gas himself in the car, but the car kept stalling. And then he tries to hang himself, and it just won't work. His neck will not, the rope won't tighten, basically. And that is just a load of shit. And he even goes, I've been trying to kill myself all day. I absolutely hate this rule. It basically makes you a superhero until you're next in line. You are invincible. So that is just a shitty rule, and David R. Ellis, the director of this movie, is the same one as part 2. Please, David R. Ellis, stop doing this if you direct another Final Destination film, because it is pathetic and just so dumb. I hate it. I hate it when it happens. So yeah, definitely the worst part of this movie so far. But Final Destination 2 done it in kind of one scene. This one expands upon it and just throws it out there. So yeah, I hated that. However, guys, despite a ton of problems here, I still think this movie is fun enough. I enjoyed the death scenes and stuff, and I didn't hate it anywhere as much as everyone else, even though it is the weakest in the series so far. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this movie now. I'm going to give The Final Destination a 5.5 out of 10. I honestly can't wait to check out Final Destination Part 5, because I've heard it picks back up again, and if this is the worst, that can only be a positive. Okay, guys, at the end of these reviews, I always like to leave a little fun fact. Now, a fun fact for The Final Destination is that the McKinley Speedway accident at the start of this movie is actually based on a real-life motoring accident, the Le Mans 55, in which 84 people were killed, unfortunately. Yeah, I think the whole footage is on YouTube and stuff, and it's pretty grim. Okay, guys, hope you all enjoyed this review. Don't forget to check out my other Final Destination reviews in the link down below. What do you think of The Final Destination? Please do let me know in the comments, and I'll get back to you all, I promise. So thanks so much, guys. You take care. If horror is your sort of thing, please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you all in the next video.